The straight arm lock from guard or the jiu-jitsu from guard is a super, super important submission, especially if you're a guard player or if you're just a beginner and you're learning to fight off your back. And for me, it's the quintessential submission in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's a move that is performed by a guy on his back. He looks like he's in trouble. The guy could be aggressive towards him, punching at him or trying to strangle him. And out of nowhere, he pulls out a really cool looking submission. The thing is, lately, most people know it's coming and they know how to defend against it. So the old school way of doing it, which is just to grab onto his arm and throw your hips over, that doesn't work anymore. You need to follow a much more precise set of movements if you want to catch anyone in it. So now we're going to look and see how it's done. Just as with the guard jump, the first thing we want to look at with the armbar from guard is our grips. So what I want to remember is that I'm going to attack, or the arm that I'm going to attack, I want to have decent grips on. The first grip is on his wrist. Come over and pin his wrist down onto my chest. What this is going to stop him from doing is lifting his hand up off my chest. If he tries to, he can't. But if he yanked his arm back, he could still pull it out. Right? So my second hand is going to come underneath and behind his elbow. I'm going to take some cloth. Take a nice handful of cloth there. This will stop him from pulling his elbow back. If he tries to pull it backward, it can't. So now I have complete control over his arm. I have two joints locked down, the wrist and the elbow. Now, again, on the same side, I'm going to take my foot and I'm going to cup it on his pelvis, just like we did when we did guard pull. Very important though, I don't put my foot there and just allow it to float there, because what's going to happen then is he's going to drive his elbow down, push my leg to the ground, and start a guard pass around this way. So what I'm looking to do from this position is put my foot in his hip and then very quickly lift my hips up and put my knee behind his shoulder. Now I've got three joints locked down. I control the wrist, I control the elbow, and this knee is controlling his shoulder. It's going to be very difficult for the guy to pull his arm out now. Right? Almost impossible. Another little detail is this leg is also not just flopping down. I'm clamping tight on him. So this attack takes a lot of strength in the legs. You've got to really be squeezing your opponent at all times. If you're struggling with it, it's because your legs are weak. You need to train them, get under the squat rack and do some squats. So again, control the wrist, come underneath, control the elbow. I step on the hip, get my knee behind his shoulder as quickly as possible, and clamp with the other leg. I'm squeezing him tight. Now his arm is still in a pretty strong position, right? And he's still got posture. He's sitting up straight. So I want to take care of that. And this is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep driving my hips up and up and up, pushing against that elbow joint. Imagining that if I could even arm lock him from here. Once I can't go any higher, I drop my hips ever so slightly, pull his arm across, and move my hips out. See what I've done? I've moved his arm across the center line. From here, a good guy, especially if he's strong, he's going to sense danger. So if you leave this for too long, he's just going to posture up again. Boom. And pull his arm out. So what I want to do is, once I have his arm in that position, I want to lock him in with the high guard. So I'm just going to throw this leg over that shoulder and cross my guard. So once I have my leg crossed over or looped over his shoulder, my feet crossed, I want to bring my hand through to reinforce, to make it extra difficult for him to posture up. Keeping pressure with my elbow and my forearm on the back of his neck. Now remember guys, what most beginners do here, I see it so many times, they pass their leg over here to try to go for the armbar. They get greedy. The angle is completely incorrect now. All Jason will do is drive forwards and I'll lose everything. Right? What I need to do is correct my angle before I pass my leg over. And the way I'm going to do that is this. I'm going to scoot my hips out underneath him to square up. You will know you've done it correctly when you can see in his ear on this side. Right? And from there, keeping pressure on his head at all times, I drag my elbow over the top of his skull to bring it to the other side. And before he has a chance to lift his head up, my leg clamps over. And I get my knee nice and tight over the back of his head. All the power in the arm bar is this. This is the most important detail. My angle and my leg controlling his head. If Jay tries to put his head up, he can't because I'm driving down here. Make sure you don't cross your legs because that takes pressure off his head. His head starts to come up. But here, it keeps control of him. Then I control his wrist and I just lift my hips up and he's going to tap real quick.